This is the second tutorial in the standard form series. It's just slightly more complicated than the first part. If you remember, in the first part, we had numbers like 400 and we were writing them as in standard form. The only different series, we're going to have numbers that have two digits rather than just one digit and zeros. They're going to have two digits or maybe three. It's not super complicated, but it does have some really good learning about our decimal number system. So let's get going. 430, we need to write this. That's in ordinary form. We want to write it in standard form. Let's put it into our super special grid. We've got our columns labeled at the top: thousands, hundreds, tens, units or ones, tenths, hundredths, thousandths, 10,000ths. Just for fun, let's put those there. Nah, it looks messy. Let's get rid of them. So what we're going to do is, there's 430. What we're going to do is look for the most important digit in that number. If I said to you, you could only have one digit in that number and you had to leave out the others, which would you keep and which would you leave out? Well, clearly you would keep the 4 because that's worth 400 and this is worth 30. So the 4 here is way more important, way more significant. So what we're going to do is we are going to look at the most important digit, which is the 4, and we're going to ignore the others just for the moment, just to give us an idea of what our standard form is going to look like. Now, if it was 400, then standard form would be 4 times 10 to the 2, or 4 times 10 squared. Do you agree? Remember from tutorial 1. Now, however, we have a 3 here. Now, that 4 has to stay as a 10 squared. It's 4 times 10 squared, and we can't change that. What we realize is that this place over here, or this column, whatever language you choose to use, is 1/10 of this column. This column is 10 times smaller than that column. So if we say 4 times 10 squared and the 4 is in the ones column, where will the 3 where will the 3 go? It will go in the tenths column, which is just to the right of the decimal point. So we get 4.3 times 10 to the power of 2. Let's try this one, 2,700. Put it in the grid. I always do that just to make you remember there are zeros there. Let's look for the most important digit in that number. Is it the 2 or the 7? You all know it's the 2, because that's 2,000, and the 7 is only 700ths. Now we're going to ignore all of the other unimportant digits and only look at the 2. Remember, we are not rounding off. This is not rounding off. We're ignoring. So we look at the 2, ignore the others. How would I write that in standard form? It's a 2 and it's in the thousands column. So 2 times 10 to the 3. Now, this place here is not empty, is it? It has a 7 in it. We did say that if the 7 wasn't there, it would be 2 times 10 to the power of 3. This place, or this column, is 10 times smaller than that one. So the 7 would end up in the tenths column, 2.7 times 10 to the power of 3. Here's one on the decimal side. Right, put it in the grid. Let's look for the most important digit. There it is, the 5. It's 500ths. That's 5,000ths. This place is 10 times smaller than that place, so this is way more important. We're going to ignore the 9, not round off, ignore it. If that was our number, 0.05, you should know by now from tutorial 1, this would be 5 times 10 to the minus 2. However, it wasn't 0.05, it was 0.059. We ignored that 9 just for a moment. So far we've got 5 times 10 to the minus 2. This place is 10 times smaller than that place. So that is going to be 0.9 of that place. This place is 0.9 of this place. So 5.9 times 10 to the minus 2. Okay, here are 20 examples. If you really get this, you should start moving them through them quite quickly. I will suggest that if you need thinking time, that you pause the video and try really hard to get them all right. 65,000. Pause the video, and when you think you've got it, resume. If this was just 60,000, it would be 6 times 10 to the power of 4. So the answer is 6.5 times 10 to the power of 4. If you ended up with something like 65 times 10 to the power of 3, that's not wrong, because that and that are the same. But that's not standard form. In standard form, we only have one digit on the left of the decimal point. 23 is our next one. Right, pause the video. When you're ready, continue. Okay, if we ignore that 3, it would be 2 times 10 to the power of 1. So it's going to be 2.3 times 10 to the power of 1. If you got 23 times 10 to the power of 0, again, the same thing applies. It's not wrong, but it's not in standard form because you've got 2 things on the left of the decimal point. 720,000. Pause the video, and when you're ready, carry on. If we ignore the 7, it would be 7 times 10 to the power of 5. Now I'm going to put the 2 back in. 7.2 times 10 to the power of 5. $3,400,000. Pause the video and resume when ready. I ignore the 4 for the moment. If I look at the 3 on its own, it would be 3 times 10 to the power of 6. So 3.4 times 10 to the power of 6. 4.7. Pause and continue when ready. If I ignored the 7, that would be 4 times 10 to the 0. So 4.7 times 10 to the 0. It might have been a little bit of a tricky one for you. 0.23. Pause the video, and when you are ready, continue. If I ignore the 3, this would be 2 times 10 to the minus 1. So 2.3 times 10 to the minus 1. 0.0065. Pause and resume when ready. Right. If I ignore the 5, I would have 6 times 10 to the minus 3. So 6.5 times 10 to the minus 3. 0.302. Pause the video, and when you are ready, continue. If I ignore everything after the 3, I would have 3 times 10 to the minus 1. Now, just be careful, you can't just move the 2 into that column. So if the 3 was on its own, it would be 3 times 10 to the minus 1. When we put the other digits back in, it's 3.02 times 10 to the minus 1. 207,000. Pause the video, and when you're ready, carry on. Right. Ignore everything but the 2. It would be 2 times 10 to the power of 5. So now put in the other digits, 2.07 times 10 to the power of 5. 23,400. Pause the video and continue when ready. Right. Ignore everything but the 2. It's the most important digit. 2 times 10 to the power of 4. Put the other digits in. 2.34 times 10 to the power of 4. 4.05. Pause. Resume when ready. Ignore everything after the 4. 4 on its own would be 4 times 10 to the 0. 4.05 times 10 to the 0. 34.2. Pause the video, and when you're ready, continue. Right, most important digit is the 3. So it would be 3 times 10 to the power of 1. 3 times 10 to the power of 1. Put the other digits in. 3.42 times 10 to the power of 1. $139. Pause the video, and when you are ready, resume. Right, in that number, there's one really important digit. That really important digit is the 1. So ignore the 3 and the 9. It would be 100. It would be 1 times 10 squared. Put the other 2 digits back in. 1.39 times 10 to the power of 2, or 1.39 times 10 squared. 1,030,000. Pause the video and resume when you're ready. Most important digit, here it is, ignore the rest. So 1 million. That would be 1 times 10 to the power of 6. Now I've got to put those other digits back in. 1.03 times 10 to the power of 6. 6,047. Pause the video, continue when ready. Same thing again. Most important digit, the 6. If that 6 was on its own, it would be 6,000, which would be 6 times 10 to the power of 3. Put the other digits back in. 6.047 times 10 to the 3. 36,020. Pause the video, and when you're ready, just carry on. Most important digit, right there, ignore the rest. So it would be 30,000, which would be 3 times 10 to the power of 4. Put the other digits back in. 3.602 times 10 to the power of 4. If you put a 0 in here, that's okay, but you don't need to. It would be a waste of time. 0.102. Pause the video, and when you are ready, continue. Most important digit, that one. On its own, it would be 1 times 10 to the minus 1. Put in the other digits, 1.02 times 10 to the minus 1. 203,600. Pause the video, and when you are ready, continue. Most important digit, the 2. Ignore the rest. Make it 200,000. That would be 2 times 10 to the power of 5. So 2 times 10 to the power of 5, add in the other digits, 2.036 times 10 to the power of 5. 2,879,000. Pause the video, and when you are ready, continue. Most important digit, ignore the rest, 2 million. On its own, it would be 2 times 10 to the power of 6. Put the other digits back in, 2.879 times 10 to the power of 6. 0.0303. Pause the video, and when you are ready, continue. Right, most important digit, this one. On its own, it would be 3 times 10 to the minus 2. Add the other two digits in, 3.03 times 10 to the minus 2. Right, done. That's 20 of them. Now, there's no point in trying different ones. If you struggled with those, watch the video again. Maybe watch the first video in the series again. Make sure you really understand what is going on. This is really important for getting onto things like higher level measurement and level 5 maths. Well, this is level 5 maths. And it's also really good for you to understand how numbers work. It's not that tricky if you practice often enough. That's the whole point about these videos. You can watch them over and over. Just go to the part that you need to see. You don't have to watch the whole thing. Just concentrate as you're watching. Remember, pausing the video and resuming is important because it gives you time to think.